Hello. Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday. I hope you're all doing really well. I am excited to be here tonight and chat with you all a little bit about open houses that college campuses are currently holding specifically for admitted students. So it's admitted student time. Students are trying to make those final decisions of which school they're going to attend in the fall. And so college campuses are offering different opportunities for students to come either to campus the first time or come back to campus to learn a little bit more about that school as they're getting ready to make their final decision. So I wanted to hop on tonight and talk a little bit more about that process of attending these open house events, why you should attend, kind of what's the benefit of them, and how are these events different maybe than another type of campus event that maybe you would have attended previously in the fall or even last year. So that's going to be our topic for tonight. Open houses and admitted student events. Should I even go? What is the benefit? So if you have joined me before, welcome back. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Gina and I am a college planning consultant with Advantage College Planning. And I like to hop here on Facebook Live. Sometimes I'm by myself, sometimes I'm joined by one of my colleagues or a guest to talk about a specific topic that's really relevant to the time period that we're in with the admission cycle. And so I know right now, a lot of my seniors are starting to make a decision of which school they're going to attend. Some students have all of the admissions decisions that they've been waiting on. Some students have a few more that'll be coming back by the end of March. And so this is a good time to start narrowing down and thinking about where different schools fall on your students list. So tonight we'll be talking about those open house and admitted student events. If you can hear me, let me know. If you can see me, let me know. Go ahead and put a comment in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know what year your students are. It's always really helpful for me to know kind of where everybody's at in the process. So I know usually it's parents joining me on these, and sometimes we get a student or two, but it's also really helpful to know if you have a student who is, a junior, senior, freshman, sophomore. All right, we've got a senior here. Yes, this is perfect. So this is your time. So like I said, tonight we're going to be talking about those admitted student events. As we go through, there will be time for me to answer questions. I'll also answer questions at the end. So, Falmouth, Maine. Awesome. Welcome, Patrick. That's so great. Maine is so beautiful. So we will be answering questions. I'll be answering questions as I go through, but also at the end. So if anything comes to mind, go ahead and put it there in the comments. So first I wanted to start talking about open house events in general. So what are these admitted student events? So let's just kind of start with the basics. So for students who've already applied to college, now they're in their senior year, they've gotten admissions decisions back, colleges now are welcoming those students back to campus so that they can have sometimes a first look, like I was saying, or sometimes it's a final look as they're trying to decide which school is really going to be the best fit for them for the next 4 years. So there's different types of events. Some schools will hold one really big event. It's a one-time shot. Everybody, hopefully, who can make it, will go, and there'll be hundreds of people on campus, parents and guardians, as well as the admitted student. Sometimes the events are a little bit smaller, so they might have multiple of these events spread out through, let's say, the entire month of March into early April, as they know that that's about the time frame students are trying to make those decisions. So they might have multiple smaller events. Some schools I'm seeing more and more are also having regional meetup or regional dinners that are being hosted in certain areas across the state or even across the country. So it's becoming more and more common for you to see, okay, my option is I can go to this one really big open house event on the college's campus, or I also have the opportunity to do a dinner at a restaurant, or a country club or something like that that's being hosted by the college, and it's only specifically for admitted students. So these events, like I said, are really geared specifically towards students at the end of the application process. So a lot of times I get questions, where students are saying, okay, well, I visited campus before. Do I really have to go back? What is the point? I've already done the campus visit. Kind of like there was a box and I checked it. Moving on, right? So, like a lot of other things in this admissions process, it's not a check the box situation. I always encourage students to think about college like you were making some other kind of purchase, right? Making a big college decision seems really big and abstract, but if we break it down and make it more tangible, something like if you're buying, I would talk about buying a new pair of sneakers, if you're buying a new car, right? You're probably going to do your research, but you're probably also going to try them on a couple of times. You might take that car for a test drive a few times as you're trying to decide which car is going to be the right fit for you. College is no different. So, first of all, if you and your student have already visited campus, that campus visit might have been a year ago now, right? You might have started this visiting colleges process in the spring of their junior year. Think about how much change you have seen in your student from last year until this year. It's wild. I mean, I work with high school students every day, and it's one of my favorite parts about my job is just getting to see their growth over sometimes years, sometimes it's only just the 1 year, but they're always growing and they've always got something new and they've always got some new perspective than they had when they first came in the door, right? No matter when I start with them. So that's important to keep in mind. And also, maybe that campus visit that you went on when you visited the campus back last spring, maybe that was your student's very first campus visit. How much were they really taking in? Right? Or maybe their preferences have started to change in what now they've done all these visits and now they're like, no, I really want to major in this. And now I know I really do want to do research, or I really do want to get involved in the debate team. And I didn't know I wanted to do that before. Right? So who they were a year ago might be a little bit different than who they are right now. So going back and doing that visit again is going to give them that perspective that meets who they are in this moment. The other thing is it's also more real, right? So when you were walking around the campus before, it just sort of felt like, okay, I'm visiting this place, I'm taking pictures, how cool that I'm here. But again, it's more real now. So you and your student might be looking at different aspects of the campus in a more in-depth manner, right, than you were when you visited before. This is also the time for you to have one last look at each school. So go around and see, how does your student feel on this college campus? When you're at the admitted student event, they're going to be walking around campus with current students, but also a whole big group of their potential classmates, right? What's the energy like? How does it feel? Do they feel comfortable? Are these the type of people that they could see themselves living and learning with for the next 4 years, right? That's another piece that's really important, is getting that last feel. Is this really where you want to be? This is also a great time to go dig a little bit deeper into, again, specific opportunities or aspects of campus life that are really important to you or your student. Some examples would be, if your student has a learning difference, this is a good time to go get connected with the Office of Disability Services if you haven't done so already. Hear a little bit about their supports. What's the process for getting registered for accommodations? What types of accommodations has your student had in high school? And is this college going to seem like they would possibly be able to offer those accommodations, right? That's kind of important as you're thinking about setting your student up for success. This also applies to accessibility in terms of students who might have physical disabilities as well, right? So how ADA compliant is the campus? Is your student able to get around the campus and get to the different events that are scheduled with relative ease? These are really important things to think of. If you have a student who has a dietary restriction, whether that's an allergy or just a personal preference, something religious in nature, usually these open house events are going to involve lunch on campus. So go eat the food, test it out. And if your student has a dietary restriction, this is the time to go and get connected with that dining services office. They should have their head of dining or some kind of point person in that dining hall who is there to answer questions, who is there to show students around the dining area if they have any questions or if they have some sort of dietary restriction. How accessible are the options that will be safe for the student to eat? They're going to be eating in this dining hall multiple meals a day, every day for the next 4 years, potentially, right? So these are the things to be testing out, as well as, again, just clubs and organizations, meeting with faculty. This is a good time for students to start connecting with faculty in programs where they could be majoring and start to make those connections now. So then when they come in August, it's a little bit smoother. Or even just see, how accessible are the faculty? Are they showing up to this admitted student event? Have they rolled out the red carpet? Are they eager to get to connect with the new students? Or are they off, kind of inaccessible, doing their own thing, doing their own research. That's not a bad thing, but it's just important to think about what kind of campus experience are you looking for. This is also an opportunity for students to start connecting with those future classmates. Many times, students have gone to an admitted student open house and come back home with some different social media contacts that they're going to follow up with because this could be a potential future roommate, right? So these are all really great benefits that are going to come out of attending these admitted student events that you won't get if you don't go. The last thing too is that for a lot of schools actually, they will have a session. So there'll be different sessions throughout the day. Usually there's kind of a schedule that you'll follow. And there's usually a session that talks about next steps. So some schools will break this up into 2 next step sessions. If your student has still deciding and hasn't submitted their enrollment deposit yet to choose the school, then they would go to the next steps for students who are trying to make their final decision and learn what else they need to do. If your student has already decided this is the school for them and they just wanted to go spend more time on the campus because they're excited, that's exciting, that's wonderful, then they would go to the next step for enrolled students and they would find out about things like orientation and submitting their housing forms and course registration and all of those kinds of things, right? So it's also just about getting a heads up on what else do we need to know as a family as we're getting ready to make this decision. Last but not least, if you attend the admitted student event, this just gives you more opportunity to get the pictures in front of the really, you know, traditional picture spot on campus, right? Like I'm officially going to such and such school, or I'm considering going to such and such school, and you take a picture in front of the fountain or the well or the sign or the arches or whatever it is, right? Whatever that spot is on that campus. This is your chance to get those pictures, right? It's just a really exciting moment. So don't short yourself on all the good things that can come from attending these events. So now that you know the reasons why you should attend, let's talk about how you find out about them. A lot of times parents are telling me they don't really know about these events, and that's because all the information is going to your student. So if you haven't done this yet, parents, I highly recommend now is the time. Have a family meeting, get your student in the same room with you, sit down at the table and have them open up their computer and log in to the application portal for each school that they have been admitted to. That application portal, I talk about those portals all the time. They're so full of important information. And now that your student has been admitted, that's where there's probably a section that says next steps or next steps for admitted students. And they need to click that button or on that link. And that's going to show them a whole list of all the things that they should or could be doing, options for open houses, registration dates, all that kind of stuff. We definitely want to make sure that students are learning about what opportunities are out there. So have them open up those portals, sit with them, go through each one, even for schools that maybe they've decided they don't know if they want to attend. What if there's a scholarship in there that your student didn't see and you don't know about? I know that sounds crazy, but I have had that happen where I've met with a student and said, "Wait a minute, did you know that you got this scholarship?" And they said, "No, I didn't even see that." It blows my mind, but please look at the portals. Please look at their portals. So in the application portals, there should be information about next steps with open houses. Your student is probably also getting emails with information about these opportunities. And then lastly, you can also go to the college's admitted student page on their website. So that's where you can usually see the wide range of opportunities. And if they're going to have like one big open house, or if they're going to have some regional events, you can see all those different options. And then you can pick and choose what options make the most sense for your student or for your family to attend. And I am saying family here. So sometimes students will ask me, do my parents really need to come? Or parents will say, do I really need to go to the admitted student event? Obviously, you need to make the decision of what's best for your family, your schedule, work, all of that. But if you can go, I highly recommend it because, again, there are probably going to be different sessions, and there might be a session that's specifically for parents or guardians, and then another session that's specific for students, just to answer common questions and, again, tell you the information you need to know as your student's making the decision. So if you can attend, I highly recommend it. One thing I have been seeing more of this year is that there are some schools that are offering their admitted student events on weekdays, which isn't really ideal. Again, like I was saying 2 seconds ago, life, scheduling, it can be hard, work. School, right? So the idea of a student having to miss a day of school in the spring of their senior year as they're getting ready for AP exams isn't great. So if your student is not able, if the events are only during the week, and it is not a great idea for you and your student to take time off of work and school to go to the event, then school and work need to take the priority. But look to see if that college or university is going to be offering, like I said, more of a regional meet and greet, because I have seen more of those coming up. And then you could at least connect with other students from the Raleigh area, as well as some representatives from the university at that meet and greet. So that would be a good compromise if they're only during the week, which again isn't great. Most of them are on the weekend, but I have seen some that are during the week. So another question I get a lot is, okay, this sounds all great, but do I need to register for the event, or can I just show up if it's like a large open house? Yes, I definitely recommend registering ahead of time, because it's really important that the university or college knows that you're coming. Especially at smaller schools, they may personalize your student's schedule a little bit based on whatever it is that they want to study or different opportunities that your student is interested in. But even at larger institutions, as they're planning for how many people will be on campus and, food and all of that, it's really important that you do register. Also, then registering is going to make sure that you're getting all the pre-event information, like where to park, which will be really important. If this is a large scale event and there are hundreds, if not 1,000 people on campus that day, you need to know where to park so that you're not hiking across 3 counties to the campus. So, or getting a parking ticket. So definitely register so that you can get all the information ahead of that. So really, the bottom line for these events is you and your student have spent 4 years of high school working really hard, taking their classes, putting in the effort. Then we get to junior year. We've spent about a year now doing all this research and being really intentional and choosing schools that are going to be a good fit. So take that one last step of continuing to be intentional and go to these open house events. If your student is narrowing it down between a few different schools, take that final test drive. Go to the open house event, see how your student feels. Sometimes they might walk on campus and feel completely different than they did a year ago when they were on campus, for good or bad, right? But you don't know until you go. And so for right now, I'm telling my students, you've done all of this work and now you have all of these opportunities. How amazing is that? How lucky are you? So now use that power, right? Use all of that opportunity you've created for yourself to now put yourself in the best possible position for the next 4 years. The decision that you make will be where you will, again, be living and learning for the next 4 years. So doing one last bit of due diligence and spending time on the campus is really the least that you can do to make sure that, yep, this is the right fit. And I'm really excited to go there. And I'm excited that this is my final destination. Super exciting. So now I just want to open it up to questions and answers. So as you're getting ready to think about these open house events, you're scheduling them, getting ready to go to them, just wondering if you have any questions about that process or anything I can share that would be helpful as you are navigating the final phase for my seniors of making these decisions. It's so exciting. And so as you are thinking about your questions, I also will let you know that I'll be back here next week with my colleague, Lindsay, and we'll be talking about course registration. So for younger students who are getting ready, 8th grade through 11th graders getting ready to do that high school course registration, we'll be here next week to talk about how many APs are enough. That's a question I get a lot. So let's talk about that. So Patrick says, at these admitted student days, is it appropriate to make a final push on financial aid? Yeah, sometimes, Patrick. So, depending on the school, depending on kind of the family's circumstances, yeah, this could be a good time to get FaceTime with the financial aid office. I would recommend if you or your family have questions about the student's financial aid package, or if you're considering a few different schools, but it's coming down to the financial aid is what's going to make that ultimate decision, as it is for many students, then scheduling an appointment. I would recommend scheduling an appointment ahead of time. So reach out to the Office of Financial Assistance at that school and let them know via email and let them know, I'm coming in let me backtrack. The student should send this email to the financial aid office and CC their parents on it, right? We want the student to be taking the lead. We want the student to be the mature one who's taking the lead, but CC the parents on it. They can write the email together, but have it come from the student and say, I will be attending the open house on such and such date. As I'm making my final decision, such and such school is really my top choice, but I do have some questions and concerns about financial aid. I was wondering if there would be an opportunity while I'm on campus that day to meet. And then the financial aid office will respond. It's possible that they may have a designated set time for students and families to come to financial aid, or they have a drop-in, but emailing ahead of time to make that appointment will increase the chances that you'll actually get to meet face-to-face with someone and have a productive conversation. So that's a really great question. Yeah, thank you for asking that. Absolutely. Great. Awesome. Yeah, so course planning for people at the other end of things, we will be doing that next week. Okay, great. So my son, so many questions. I love it. Okay, so all right, my son has decided to visit Ivy League schools only after being admitted. Okay, that sounds good. Is that advisable, or do you recommend that we visit now when we have time? Great question. So this could go either way, right? So it depends on, so Preetham, I'm not sure what year your student is. So if your student is a senior, they've applied to Ivy League schools, they should be receiving a decision by the end of April, usually, or by the end of March. I would say like April 1st, a lot of times is when you'll hear back from the Ivies. So the tricky thing is, depending on timing, you may or may not have a lot of time to make those final visits because the national reply date is May 1st. If your student is younger, so let's say they're a sophomore or junior, then I think that campus visits and deciding where to visit and when, it comes down to your family's schedule and what's reasonable for you for travel. If he's a senior, okay, yep. So at this point, it might be a good idea for you to just at least start mapping out some visits, because the turnaround time, or at least have a really tight plan, because the turnaround time will be pretty quick. You'll have about 1 month from when from when he hears his results and when he needs to make a choice. He'll have about a 1 month window. So I would just plan accordingly for that. I know sometimes if schools require a lot of travel, a flight or more than a 1-day drive, students will often, apply and then say, I'll wait to see what happens and then I'll go visit if I'm admitted. That saves the family time and money for travel, and I completely understand and respect that. But part of choosing a college initially for a lot of students is going and seeing how they feel on the campus. And even in the case of Ivy League schools, they are all Ivy League. They all have that in common, but across the different campuses, they're very different. The location of the campuses range from pretty rural to urban, right? Some of the campuses are much smaller in terms of student body. Some of the campuses are a bit larger. Student culture is very different from campus to campus. So when you can visit campus in general ahead of time before applying, that's always ideal. But at this point, Preetham, I think it would you could wait until he's admitted, but just have a go plan starting April 1st of how you're going to maximize those weekends. So should campus visits only occur when the college is in session and classes are going on versus weekends? That's a great question. I'd say it depends on the year of your student. Also, again, this is coming with a big caveat of you need to do what is best for your family. If going on the weekends works best with your school and work and sport and other schedules, then it's not a bad thing, right? So I'm going to make the assumption that you have a flexible schedule. If your schedule is really tight, go when you can go, no judgment, nothing bad. But if you have some flexibility, I recommend trying to go when the school is in session if your student is a junior or older. If your student's a freshman or sophomore, and you're just trying to get them on college campuses to help them get a sense of where the colleges are located, how the campuses feel, I think going on a weekend visit or going in the summer when school's not in session is a great first step to put the toe in the water, because it's not going to be really overwhelming. And they'll be able just to kind of get a good sense of things without having to be, in a big group or being put on the spot and asked a question by an admissions counselor or something like that. But once your student gets to junior year, I really recommend going when classes are in session, because that's really going to give the student a good feeling for what the campus is like on a day-to-day basis. For example, if your student goes on the weekend, if your student does a 10 o'clock a.m. tour on the weekend at some college campuses, I guess this would be telling, but at some college campuses, it's pretty dead because everybody's still asleep. Not going to see much. Or you're going to see some sleepy people coming into the dining hall, right? The energy is going to be really different than it is on a Tuesday afternoon, right? At some college campuses, when you go, I've experienced this as I've done campus visits. Sometimes I've visited college campuses and I'm walking around, there's all the other students, and everyone's just really friendly. It's kind of obvious I'm a visitor. I've got the big sticker or folder, whatever they give you, can't really blend in. Certainly don't look super cool with my sticker, but whatever. And so people are really friendly and they're like, hey, oh, are you visiting? Oh, welcome to campus, right? I'm an extrovert. And I love that stuff. Like, that makes me feel seen. That makes me feel welcome. I'm like, oh, okay, I really like this campus. I like these people, right? This seems like a nice place. I've also been on college campuses where I'm walking around with my big sticker and my folder, and not one person on that campus even looks my way. Everyone is just going to where they're going. I'm standing in the middle of campus looking at a map, trying to figure out where to go. No one stops to ask me if I need help. Nothing. They're just too busy going to where they're going, right? So for me, I wouldn't, if it were me, I would feel like, okay, I'm not really sure if that kind of campus would be a good fit for me, right? So that's why going and visiting when classes are in session, I think, is really important. Plus, sometimes for juniors or even seniors, when you go, if classes are in session, you could potentially ask to sit in on a class. You could ask to meet with a professor from a program your student's interested in, or connect with a current student who's majoring in X to learn more, right? So you're going to get more out of that visit. So that was really long-winded, but hopefully that answered your question. Okay, Amy's wondering, is there a big enough difference between a regular open house in mid-March and the admitted student days on April 1st for a big out-of-state school that we have not been to, but I hate to wait too long? Yeah. So they're big. The main difference, Amy, they're both going to be opportunities where the college is going to roll out the red carpet, right? They're trying to impress people. They're going to have everybody on display. The difference would be a little bit in the programming. So it's possible so if you can access the schedule, some of the schools will give you a little bit of an overview of, okay, this is what the schedule will be for open house. This is what the schedule is for admitted student day. See if you can see the schedules. If there's something specific on the admitted student day that you would miss, have your son, I know Amy's student is a son, so have your son reach out to his admissions rep and say, hey, so-and-so, I'm really excited to visit this college. I'm coming for the open house. I can't come for the admitted student day, but I'm bummed because I'm not going to be able to attend this session with Professor so-and-so, or I'm not going to be able to X. Is there any way I could do that during the admitted student day? And see what they say. I think that would be the only piece, is if the admitted student open house works better for you, go do that. But yeah, see if there's any way that you can weave in, let them know you've been admitted, make sure the admissions counselor knows you've been admitted and you're coming, and see if they can accommodate you. 9 times out of 10 they will, because you've been admitted and they want to try to reel you in. So I would definitely recommend doing that. That's a great question. Yeah, really good questions. Awesome. Yay. Great. This is a fun group. I love it when there's questions. All right. So again, I will be back here next week. I'm usually not 2 weeks in a row, but given the timing, my colleague Lindsay and I wanted to hop on and talk with younger students about course registration. So we will be here next week on Sunday, 8 o'clock, talking about course registration. If you found this helpful, just so you know, we have all of the Facebook Live recordings that I've done are saved on our Facebook page, so you can always go back and watch them for reference. We also have a lot of really great resources on our website, advcp.com. You can schedule a consultation, you can watch short videos with me, you can read my colleague Jamie's blog, or you can even listen to my colleague Ariel's podcast. So lots of great resources, and we love to share great resources with the community. I love hopping on here and getting to talk to everybody. That's always really exciting for me. So I hope you all have a wonderful night, and look forward to seeing a lot of you back here on Sunday. Thanks so much. Bye.